What's up, everybody? We were just having a little bit of fun. We have had a day of technical difficulties. At least one of us has. So
that'd be me.
You want to bring up what you just showed, Jacob, and show.
Yeah, you can bring it
up. So we're 25 solid minutes late getting started, and we had a Windows update issue going on. So Jordan's in a new. He's having all kinds of issues this Friday afternoon that we're recording this on, but it's all good. We have fun. That's one of our core values. Welcome everybody. Welcome Jordan. Welcome Jacob's going to spend some time with us today. We got a cool episode planned for everybody, and we're just glad to have you here. This is podcast episode number 12. I'm not supposed to tell the number, but it's going to be number 12. We don't always tell the number, but it's the Zion Experience, TZE. We've done 12 of them. We've recorded a bunch more. We're dropping these about every other week. In the process we do, somebody's told me a couple weeks ago, it's like, you all must not have anything going on. And I said, quite the contrary. So we've moved the recording of this episode about 4 times. But here we like to get them recorded, and because we do them every other week, and we're getting ahead to where we have some, but it's staying as close to relevant as you can. So this is episode number 12. It'll drop in a week or two, and we're glad to have you back. If you're not a subscriber, go out. You can find us on YouTube. That's where the video is. You can see all of us live that way, and some of what we're going to share today live. Not live, but the video recording. Or you can go to Spotify, Apple, Deezer, Amazon, wherever there's a podcast. Our podcast is up there. So subscribe. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you listen to us and join us. We have a lot of fun doing this, don't we, guys?
Yeah, blast.
I'm sitting in here.
I don't know how Jordan feels about it today. You know,
I've got, what did we call this? Candy corn. It's time for candy corn.
Right.
Yeah, I called it something totally wrong and different, but.
No, I've done nothing physical in preparing for this, but the stress of trying to get my computer to work and the frustration has caused me to perspire and sweat. So I'm sitting here worn out. It's on a Friday late. We've moved it 4 times. I was late again. But, a funny story, I was looking at what Jimmy was eating over there, and I was watching a podcast. And I forget what it's called, but it's one of the comedians, and he's the guy that always has a shirt off, big belly dude. You know who I'm talking about? He's got a beard. Oh, he's hilarious. And they're sitting there, they do a podcast. It's him and another guy. And they're sitting there, and he's got one of those big, like 64-ounce drinks, that you put water in. So they're sitting there in the morning. One guy's drinking coffee. Other guy takes a big drink, and he's like, let me get a drink of Kool-Aid. And he's like, what? He's like, yeah, I love Kool-Aid. So it is 64 ounce. This is a grown man. He had red Kool-Aid. The guy poured it out. They lost it because he's like, everyone's over here thinking you're drinking water and you're drinking Kool-Aid as you walk past all these people. So 64, he does 2 of them, 128 ounces of red Kool-Aid a day. Wow. So I might start doing that. Get on that train.
Kids love Kool-Aid, but we've had to cut the sugar back on the Kool-Aid in my house because it was.
Well, that was the problem. Right.
Yeah, too much sugar in it. Mine like blue.
Yeah. What's your go-to drink in the office? Like if you're in the office, what are you drinking?
Who, me?
Yeah, both of you.
I drink a cup of coffee in the morning, and then I'm water.
I usually drink coffee before I come in because I got to drop off Harper so early. And then I get here, I'll drink water, maybe a Monster every now and then. And then I'll have a cup of coffee in the afternoon, depending on the day. Like right now, I could use a cup of coffee. Cold brew would be good because I'm hot. And then water. But that's about it.
I think the Athens office should be sponsored by Coke Zero. The amount of Coke Zeros you go through is insane. I love Coke Zero.
Hold on now. When we were down there, what's Big Drew got? He's got
Liquid Death.
Liquid Death and
right.
And bubbly.
What though? We were talking about this. I've got a young lady that helps keep the office clean here, and she takes care of our snacks. And we've got a couple people that got sweet tooths in this office, and we're constantly mixing it up of what's going in, what's going out. And this we broke out the Halloween candy last week, and I was gone for a few days. It was gone, completely gone. Like 2 big tubs of Halloween candy, Reese's, Hershey's, a little. What we call it, candy corn, and the little candy pumpkins, Skittles, gone. Totally gone. And the best part is, the soft batch chocolate chip cookies. we've got a little cookie jar she fills up, and it doesn't last. And Jordan, you know who's got a sweet tooth in here with us?
Oh yeah.
It doesn't last. I caught him with 3 or 4 cookies in his hand. And I'm like, what is going on? He said, I have no control. No control.
No control. But yet you keep putting stuff out. It's like Jake was sitting here today and he's like, he's like, I almost broke down today. I almost got a soda. He's like, I had to call Ellie, who's his wife, and have her talk me down. Cause I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to drink one. I'm going to do it. I'm like, well, you know what sounds pretty good is a Mountain Dew. He's like, oh, that's it. That's what does it for me. So I said, Monday morning, I'm coming in with a Mountain Dew.
Bring him a Circle Pop or a Polar Pop. Bring him a big old Polar Pop. Just have it on his desk.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Is he on a diet or is he not doing Coke?
I think he's just cutting back on them because he would drink them. He said not a lot, but every day, and so he's just 2 months he's gone without one, and he almost broke down today. But he had himself a couple liquid deaths. I didn't know they had different flavors, but they had a green one that Drew gets, and he had like a red one or something, or brown or something, different color.
They have iced tea as well. The iced tea is spectacular. It's so good. Yeah,
that's what you should have got.
Iced tea in a can.
Favorite snack. What's your weakness snack, Jacob?
Oh, that's a good question. In the office, we had these fig bars.
No, just general. What's your weakness snack?
Sun chips. Garden salsa sun chips.
Yeah.
I love some sun chips.
Jordan?
I don't snack. I'd say when I do, I'm trying to think. I like, what I will eat is Summer, she's got celiac, so she's got gluten-free stuff. And they have these gluten-free crackers. That's like sea salt and something. And when she gets those out, I quickly take those from her and I'll enjoy eating those. But that's really about it. I mostly skip breakfast, lunch I'm about 50%, and then a big dinner. And that's about my meal intake. No candy, no desserts. Doesn't help my weight, but I don't eat much. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not a big sweets person either, but about the only candy that I really like and I would get is a Reese's Fast Break. I like the Reese's Fast Breaks. Got a little peanut butter but I'm not a sweets person either. I'm kind of like you.
Hold on a second. Hold on. So we're sitting there. You got candy corn in the coffee cup in front of you. When I was with you at ProMat, we're going to dinners. You got jelly beans in your backpack. So what do we mean? Reese's Fast Break.
I'm not a real big sweets. I do. Okay. I've been. We got the Starburst jelly beans. I told you all about those. So I'll make me a little Ziploc bag, and I've got this fear of getting on an airplane without anything to eat, and so I've always got something in my backpack. If you need a little snack, I've got something in my backpack. So if I don't get caught on a flight for 4 hours and don't have anything to eat,
see, mine's water. I always have a water bottle before I get on a plane. I buy a water bottle.
Yeah. I do that too. I need to be better about like a thermos of carrying one of those around, keeping water in it. Cause I'm sitting here and I'm always thirsty. And we got like a little water machine, but we have coffee cups. We put the water in and it's just not enough. I take it like 2 drinks and it's gone. And then I'm too lazy to get back up and refill it. So I just go thirsty. Like I could use a water right now watching you drink water. I got nothing here. We need to pause the podcast. We need to restart. I got to go down and get a couple waters. I'll be back in 15 minutes.
Go get a cup of water.
Yeah.
We'll get started. What are we doing today? What are we talking about today, Jacob?
MHEDA releases a material handling business trends. So they released their 2024 one recently. So we're going to, dive into some of these topics and discuss them and what we think about the trends. Are they trends? So we'll dive right into the first one. I just will read it out and then let's hear y'all's thoughts. So the current economic uncertainty is driven by a combination of global supply chain disruptions, inflationary pressures, and geopolitical tensions, leading to a heightened market vitality and cautious customer behavior. Members should monitor key performance indicators and proceed accordingly.
That's a whole lot right there.
I think the biggest point would be the cautious consumer behavior. How are consumers being cautious here, and what have you seen so far out of consumers, and what do you think kind of some of their concerns are going to be in the future?
I'll take it real quick, Jordan. We got I think how many of them are there?
There's a lot. We probably won't get through all of them.
Huh?
We probably won't get through all of them.
Okay. Well, that's cool.
There's like 15.
We'll try to just make it quick hitters on this. So when I look at this, I think it's constantly something that you're looking at, especially the buying behavior, when people normally buy, the length for us from a systems integration perspective, and our partners who are selling the products that we ultimately put together and sell. This has been on everybody's mind, is just where is this industry? You lean a lot on MHEDA also has an ITR economics data that they send out. And I think everybody's known we're in kind of a little bit of a soft patch. For us, we have not seen it, but we're the size we are compared to some of the other big, large integrators out there that just, you can't have any soft, you can't have any downturn. I think we've seen people making more cautious decisions. I think they're evaluating. It's not really ROI. They're just evaluating, and they're spending their money at different timing now. Used to be peak would drive it. Lack of labor availability would drive it. But I think there's a third element in now. It's like, I think everybody's kind of watching what's the inflation going to do? Are we in a recession? What's this 2024 election cycle going to do for the U.S. specifically? The tensions overseas. You can't ignore what's going on in Russia and in China and just how it impacts the supply chain. So I think it's certainly a business trend. Has Zion seen an issue out of it? I don't know that we have, but I think our cycle's a little different, and it's 6 to 9 months usually when you're working through getting a customer. We say all the time, Jordan, 6 to 18 months but from point of first touch with a customer, not an existing relationship, but first touch to a customer to you're at a contract. That's a 6 to 18 month cycle. So we're kind of right in the middle of that with some of our newer relationships. But we've landed some contracts. We've got customers signing deals, but there's definitely, we're hearing it from our big partners. We got a lot of partners, and they're seeing the soft overall. And I don't think you can ignore it.
Yeah, I'll just add one quick point to that fact, because I think you saw through COVID, some companies really prospered and excelled, and I think those companies are taking a little bit of a risk, calculated risk, of saying they're not as concerned with the economic climate, purely because they saw how they were able to not only make it through but excel during a global pandemic. So I think because of that, there's some industries and companies that have found themselves in a little bit better position to take good risks to further themselves in the industry and the market due to their robustness through a period that lasted 2 to 3 years in COVID. And I think we're just seeing the result of some of that with the clients that we have.
Yep. I wrote a letter from the president, I think is what we call it, Jacob, a couple months ago, that might be a good resource if people are out there looking at it, is how can you hedge against this trend? What can you do? And this show isn't all about selling who we are and what we do. I mean, that's just part of it, right? We're not on to sell, but get yourself trusted partners was the gist of it. You've got to have some strategy in place. You can't react, especially in this industry. Reaction time is not your friend. So you've got to have a long-term strategic roadmap. You need a partner that's going to guide the right change, that's going to help you long-term and future and see and how you can grow into it. Because if you find yourself reacting, or you find yourself trying to quickly react, it's just, it's not a good look. I lived in the 3PL world for a long time, and I saw a lot of customers that tried to approach it that way. And do yourself a favor, have a good trusted partner like Zion. I'll plug us in, and have yourself a good strategic roadmap. All right, we can't spend that much time on all of them, so
we can put that.
Supposed to be a quick answer, right?
Well,
Jordan's up next. Let Jordan go next.
All right. Well, we'll do one. Companies need to take cybersecurity risks seriously to safeguard sensitive data, protect customer trust, maintain business continuity, and mitigate the potential financial and reputation damages resulting from cyber attacks.
It's continuity. I'm gonna help a brother out. You
Yeah,
sound
I'm
like
not.
me. You
I'm
sound
not
like
good at
me for
words.
that word.
You know, I wasn't an English major.
It's all good. Neither was I. I probably just butchered that. Go, Jordan. What do you think?
About cybersecurity, I was looking at the questions. Jacob just blew right over technology impacting the industry. Went right to cybersecurity. I was all queued up, talking about artificial intelligence and robotics, but I think with cybersecurity, it is we didn't see it in our industry for quite a while. I mean, it's been around for a long time. You had the hacks and everything else, but we always looked at ourselves and said we have low risk in terms of what we hold, what we have. And it's just, we didn't have it really up on our radar as a priority. But I can tell you that recently, in the past, when I say recently, probably 3 to 4 years, we've seen the need to have better cybersecurity because of the risks that are certainly posed from people that are out there, whether they be hackers or, whatever they are. But point is we now have customers that are making these requirements as part of doing business with them. And because of that, we've had to go through and we've had to really understand what risk are we at from cybersecurity, and more importantly, how can we solve it? So we've done things to safeguard ourselves. There's different insurance that you can get to help you with it. We've gone to all cloud-based versus being server-based, which has multiple layers of protection. We do cybersecurity training. We've got anti-phishing emails. So we've done a lot of things to position ourselves to not find a lot of ourselves in a bad spot where we're locked out of our data or we have money stolen or whatever. But in reality, if you were to go out and talk to 5 business owners, I would say 1 out of 5, maybe even more, have had a personal experience with some sort of negative impact of not having the appropriate cybersecurity. So my thoughts on that is take it seriously, invest the right amount of money to protect yourselves and your business.
I think as people are going to start taking it more and more seriously, especially, I don't know if y'all heard of what happened in Vegas. MGM resorts got hacked. Their casinos were down for 4. They might still be down. I know they were down for a couple of days from a cyber attack, and it's from someone they got in from a help desk person, and they got in from the back. So it's you're going to have probably more security with internally, who can have access to stuff. And I think companies should definitely take that in consideration too, who has access to what, and be cautious of that, so.
It's a shame we live in a world that you got to worry about these type of things, but you do. And it's the small percentage that does. Quickly, I would say is Jordan, I thought you hit on it. I just quickly would add that MHEDA does a really nice job with this for their membership. They were doing quarterly seminars, or they did a panel of different conversations and topics. And one of them, the man's name that gave me it's escaping me right now, but they did a really nice seminar on this. And he just talked through how do small businesses, how do big businesses protect themselves against this, and what you do. And previous employee that we were at, or previous employer, Jordan, we did have a breach. And, I remember that wasn't, we got it all resolved. It was all taken care of, but took several hours to do it and figure it out. And, it was through a large bank. So, I mean, it can hit you from anywhere. It's certainly out there. It's not a good look if you are unprepared. So be prepared.
Awesome. Moving on to the next one. This one will be a little shorter one. Most one-liners from each of you. Labor shortages across all job classifications continue, resulting in ongoing wage pressure. Quick thoughts.
I'll go first. I don't think I'm probably as close. We're hearing this from some of our 3PLs. Just they are having to react to the UPS just came out, for example. UPS is paying their they just negotiated their Teamsters contract, and the amount of money they're paying drivers and they're paying their hourly and their part-time just pushes the pressure. Amazon continues to increase. So we're hearing it, but I'm not super close to it to where I feel like I can say anything other than I know what's going on out there, but no additional stats to add to this one.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you, Jimmy. I mean, I think we see it in our partners and our customers. I think we've been fortunate enough in the business that we're in, the industry we're in, the team that we employ, that I don't know that we've suffered from it ourselves, but I do think it is driving the continued investment in research and continuing to advance robotics past singular purposes, right? So we've had a lot of experience with humanoids or general purpose robots, GPRs, right? And they're being really developed to handle a multitude of different tasks. And the reason for that is when you have a singular task that a person can solve in a warehouse, well, when you get into peak periods or you have to supplement labor, you get to get more people that can solve that task, but people can float. That's what I'm getting at. They can go from inbound to outbound. They can go from picking to replenishment. They can go from loading a trailer to unloading a trailer, right? Well, generally robots in the warehouse today can't. So you have to design them around how much volume you're going to have for that specific element the majority of the year. So general purpose robots are being created and researched and developed to help solve and mitigate some of that pain. So now these robots can be used across various different functions. They truly are a cross-functional robot, which is crazy to think about, but I think you're going to see more of that, right? And but yeah, I think we ourselves don't have a lot of experience in it. Knock on wood. Blessed to say that. So,
I think you make a good point. Quickly, we can't do one line, Jacob. We're incapable of doing one lines. But I would say when he was saying that, it's like ongoing. Here's my advice, right? One of the things we approach it as is we give a fair wage to our employees. Jacob, you're one of them, right? And we give a fair wage to our employees, but there's other things besides money that will have people come work with you. And that's why you hear us talking about culture and how you treat your people. It's the total compensation is not just the dollars and cents that you put in an employees, how you treat them, what you pour into them, the culture they live in every day. I think, Jordan, that's why we've had success and that we don't feel this because it's more than a paycheck for some people. Some people, it's only a paycheck. I get that,
and that leads great into the next point is the next MHEDA trend is it's essential for leaders to be mindful of workforce challenges, including worker fatigue, lack of engagement, mental health challenges, and low morale. Enhancing organizational culture and offering support when needed is crucial. And I think that's very big, especially with graduates nowadays. I'm only a couple months out of college. A couple of years ago, a lot of graduates, we just want the biggest paycheck we can get. That's all they cared about is money, money, money. And you hear a lot more about graduates I'm going to go to a place that I culturally fit. Someone that treats me like a human, someone that treats me like I'm an actual person. They want to hear what my input is. And I think you're seeing that more and more nowadays as people are looking for organizations that want them and, of course, are going to pay them. But, the pay isn't the only thing, like you were saying.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point. There's a lot of things that hit home here. It's like you hear work-life balance. We call it just life balance. I don't necessarily got to throw work in. I mean, your life is getting busier than it's ever been. Jordan and I are in certainly a season of life where we've got young children and we just, it's his wife works. It's just life balance is you've got to, worker fatigue is real. So you got to be aware of it. You got to give people, encourage them to take time off, the right time off. I take a lot of time off, but we work a lot too. Right. And you got to have it life balance. And you're getting more and more of this, what was it? Mental health challenges. You never know. This one touches my heart because I've been blessed. I'm knocking on some wood here. I've been blessed with, I don't have a lot of worries or stresses, anxieties in my life. I've been blessed. I've got a good group around me. I've got good people in my life. I've got good health, knocking on wood. But there's a lot of people that don't look like they're struggling that are really struggling. And so I think it's important to know your employees and know when something's up, know enough when they're not, and just care enough to ask them about it and just if they need help. So that one kind of hits home with me. And then low morale is just like, when somebody's having a bad day, pick them up, be that inspiration. That's what I try to do. I get a lot of people talk to me about my LinkedIn. It's totally probably out of character for people that would have known me a year and a half or 2 years ago. And I get the same message that they're happy to see that I try to be an inspiration. I'm not perfect at it, but I try to put positive messages out into the world. I'm a positive person. I don't do well with negativity. I try to put out positive. And I get a lot of people that just say, you're kind of a ray of light, keep being positive. And just, I think it's easy. I think it's hard. You got to work at being negative all the time. I think it's easy to be positive and say good things to people. All right, I'm done.
Yeah. I had a buddy the other day and he goes, I see Jim's posts all the time. And he goes, I comboed on one and I got it right. I was hoping to win a car or something. He was messing with me. I was like, you want some Zion merch? I got you.
Get him some socks. We've sent out so many socks. Yeah, get him some socks, but tell him the only rule is he's got to show us the socks on LinkedIn. You'll have to tell me which buddy it was. I don't know. Did I reply back to him or did
I don't know. I'll let you know after the podcast. I won't blast him on here,
Hopefully I didn't big time him. I don't big time anybody. So
awesome.
What you got, Jordan? He's gonna cut you off. You're gonna let Jordan talk on this one.
Well, I think it's a tough thing. And I say that because building culture is part of what you do. You do it every day, right? And you don't if you're really committed to it, you don't have to work at it. However, being able to challenge employees to get more out of themselves than they may think possible is something that we're also responsible to do as leaders, right? To help in career development and to help them break through barriers that they think are unbreakable. And with that, you have to balance the mental fatigue, the mental health, and the burnout. So there's a fine line. You have to be able to learn how to push, but not push too far. So you can solicit the feedback, you can have the great culture. And I think some of the things that we do that allow us to do that is, number one, if you have a great culture, naturally your team's going to want to do more without being asked. That's number one. That's an engaged employee, and that's really important. Secondly, I know there's been this whole big debate in the past few years of working in person or working from home. I'd say we have more people. We have a decent amount of people that work from the office, and we find that they're really in the office almost every day. And I personally think that's awesome because I like coming in, I like seeing people, and I think you get to talk about more than just business. When we were in COVID, all you talked about was really work. You need to be really purposeful in order to talk about the personal lives, and naturally that can come about when you're in an office setting. So I think, and then also just team member events also help, and collaboration and coming down and seeing each other. We have 3 different offices. We've all been to each other's offices. We all go down, we spend some time, we get some lunch, we go to dinner. I think all those things are really important, and you can't lose sight of that. But I would also say you can't err to the side of let somebody just do what they want to do and don't challenge them to do more than they think they could, right? So that'd be kind of my thought of that question.
Jordan's got a lot better answer than I had to this one, Jacob.
Well, maybe you'll get it back on the next one,
Overachiever. That was a great. I'm making a joke, but it was really good. You got a really good point there.
Awesome. So next question: larger end users are modifying their procurement process and demanding terms, rebates, and complimentary services. This impacts cash flow and poses a risk to the member organization.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start on this, Jimmy, and roll it over to you. But we've absolutely no question about it. I'm on our sales and solutions, the team that I lead, and so I deal a lot with customers and procurement and rebates, and it's absolutely now present more than ever, right? So we're dealing with procurement on almost a daily basis with all of our customers. We have great relationships with them. We've got commitments from them, but they've got a procurement process in place. We have had challenges of, hey, what can we do from a rebate standpoint? We've worked through that. I think we've got a good solve for that. I'm not going to go into the specifics, but we've got a solve for it. But I think at the end of the day, procurement is going to become and will continue to be a necessary part of business. And any opportunity you go into, you have to realize that and recognize that. So what does that drive? Well, that drives continuing making sure you've got the key relationships. You need a coach inside of your accounts to help you with how to get through the procurement process, how to manage your solution. But a lot of times it comes down to price. And a procurement person isn't necessarily going to know the value of a solution over a price. And you've got to be mindful of that. So things that we do is be very creative around how we design solutions, how we can mitigate cost where necessary. But one thing we will not do is put the functionality of the solution at risk. So we will always design a solution that we feel will solve the problems at hand as best as it can, But in competitive situations, there's going to be some nice to haves, and you can't always put those in. So my advice to that is you're going to have to learn to deal with it. It's not going to go away. You can't mitigate it. You can build relationships to help you solve it, but just go into every opportunity thinking it's a competitive situation and put yourselves in a position to have the best overall solution via price or creativity or a mixture of the two.
Awesome. Do you have anything to chime in, Jim, or you want me to?
Well, my kids just busted up in the office, so you all saw me texting here, and I heard James yell, "Dad, where is?" So I sent in the message to Holly to put them in the conference room till I'm done taping this. I think you answered it well. I think the focus here is the larger the organization, the harder this gets. The more transactional in nature that it gets. I think procurement at its design has a purpose and a place. I come from a large organization in UPS that used this very effectively. I'm just always cautious to educate some of our customers in this of we're never scared of competition. We always go in. We don't play it. We've talked about this on another podcast. We don't play the let's add cost and then hope it comes back out in anticipation. We try to go in with our best price, our best solution. And we try to do all the work up front with coaches and influencers and to educate people on getting the best solution. And we're very, I think you got to educate your customers on you don't always get the best solution out of that. You may get the best price or what you think is the best price, but ultimately you end up paying more overall for the solution through it's not as robust. You end up taking longer to get up to speed. You don't have a partner that's as engaged. But we're certainly seeing it. I don't think I long for the days of where, the way I do business is if I look you in the eye and I shake your hand, I don't need a piece of paper. You're going to get what I look you in the eye and shake your hand for. And I think we run the business that way, but that's not the world we live in anymore. And it's okay. I think procurement's going to be part of it. You got to evolve as a business. You got to put your best foot forward. You're not going to win every deal. Ultimately, we talk a lot about is the customer's got to be just as good a fit for us as we are for the customer. And so I think when you're confident in that, you run your business that way, it's enough work for everybody. But certainly the larger the customer, the more challenging and daunting the procurement processes can be.
Let me just add one quick thing to that, because the question was really around cash flow and how do you protect your business when you've got procurement, rebates, and I think it was complimentary services, yes. Right, Jacob?
Yeah.
So, the way I would say this real brief is don't look at it as a demand from a customer. Look at it as a value add that you can provide to your customer, right? Yeah. Build that into your business. Look for sustainable ways to have some sort of repeatable or annuity revenue, and really model your business around that being a strength versus a weakness and a demand, right? And that's what we positioned ourselves to do, and that's why for us, while that might be a trend, we don't see a negative impact from it. We actually see positive impacts as the ability to not only prove ourselves, but continue to be there as a service type of approach to all of our various different customers.
Good point.
Awesome. I think we'll finalize on this last trend here.
Okay. Maybe we have to do 2 of these, Jacob, because we're only going to get through like half of them, aren't we?
Yeah, probably. We can do a second episode of this. Yeah.
You think Jordan will be late there too?
I'll be early. Now I got to figure it out. See, look, you've got a nice podcast room set up down there in the Hodgenville office. It looks good. It's set up. You walk in, you turn it on, it's ready to go. I got nothing. I got to set it all up every time, move the computer off the docking station, get the microphone out, get the camera going, speaker going. It's a whole process. So
it sounds like y'all need to turn one of the offices there into a podcast room.
Well, I don't have any extra offices for a podcast room. Otherwise, I absolutely would. New office, 100% have a podcast room in it. So excited for that.
Awesome. All right. So last trend, to capitalize on the demand for automation, the members must understand the engineering oh gosh, guys. All right.
Complexities.
Yeah, we're going to restart this question. To capitalize on the demand for automation, the member must understand the engineering complexities and the in-house or outsourced expertise required. Servicing these operations is becoming increasingly important and an opportunity for members.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we do every day. Everybody has access to the same technologies. Not everybody can put together the same creative solutions and guide the intelligent change. I feel like we do really well, but it's definitely getting more complicated. Customers don't want that. Some integrator models are, let me partner with somebody that can help you do that, meaning a WCS or the software side. We've taken a very, what's the word I'm looking for? We've taken an approach to where we want a lot of that expertise in-house. It doesn't mean you got to be the coder, but you better understand functionality. You got to understand what you're doing and what you're getting out, because when we tell our customers all the time, when we're putting in a system, when there's pain, you've got to be able to diagnose it, triage it quickly, and get to the root cause and fix, because you're going to have those as you cycle. We've done a bunch of project delivery conversations and episodes. If there's always going to be issues, so you better have the expertise. Customer calls and then pain, they don't want you to be like, hold on, let me call somebody, and then you might get the right person. So I definitely think you're seeing it. We've certainly, with robots and technology, Jordan, I don't know what anybody's truly figured out the aftermarket, the life cycle support, the customer service, whatever you want to call it. Most of the robotic and technology companies aren't offering that. They don't do that. Traditionally, that's been a service and technician-based role that the integrators take on. And right now, I think there's a void. I think there's a void in the industry of who knows that well and who's going to set that up well, especially because the technologies come flying out. There's new technologies. Now, the good news is most of it's simple hardware and components. So the ability to have to really be super technical to fix the componentry is not as complicated, but the software element and how it all works together, there's some complexity there. And we've got to solve for it. I don't think I'm going to share it on here, but we've got to solve for it. We thought through it. We know how we're approaching it, and we feel like we're having success doing that and had success doing it. But that's it. That's my 2 cents on it, Jordan.
No, I think those are all great points, and I think we could spend an entire podcast on this one trend, and yes. I think it's a great trend. And I'm actually I'm pleasantly surprised this was a trend that MHEDA was able to see, because I think we've seen it from an integrator's point of view for probably a couple of years, but to see it in the industry as a market, as a non-integrator, in terms of being a MHEDA member or expert that put this together, I think is fantastic. And I say that I would love to get into a technical conversation of my why. I went through and I spent 30 minutes on it today, but I'm not going to do that here. Don't have time for it, and just not needed. But I think from my point of view, I've changed my tune a little bit. Look back 3 to 4 years ago, and I've probably said this somewhere, that the reason you want to get with an integrator is because there's so many different robotic companies out there, and how do you know who to choose? Well, I think today that's a little bit easier because there's been some consolidation in the robotics industry, and those that are left, the vast majority of them are very capable. I still think you need help of selecting the right one, but I think you can get a good solution from any of them. Is it the best? Maybe, maybe not. But where I'm at now, and the reason I think the expertise is so required, is when you look at, I'm going to stick to goods to person for the purposes of automation. If you look at a goods to person system, there's a few inputs that are required to design that system. The whole premise is that it's simple, right? There's not a lot of moving parts. It's not as daunting as designing a system or a warehouse that's got 4 miles of conveyor in it with all kinds of different diverts and scanners and merges and everything else. And so that's put a perception in consumers or customers' heads that, hey, we can just reach out directly to the OEM, show them what we have, and then we'll get a solution. Well, yeah, you can do that. But one of two things typically will happen, depending on the expertise on the customer's team. One, is this going to be overbuilt? 2, is this going to be underbuilt? Finding that right balance of understanding what your volume is stating, what your forecast growths look like, what assumptions you're making, and then being able to apply real-world expertise and experience to productivities, uptimes, and everything else. That's where the expertise comes in. So working with somebody who's been there, done that, has seen the different levels of automation that are available in the marketplace, understand how to protect and solve for forecasted growth is invaluable. And yes, I'm coming from a biased standpoint because it's an integrator and it's what we do. And I think we do a really good job at it. But at the same point in time, people look at an integrator and they're like, well, why would I go to an integrator if I can go to the manufacturer and not pay a markup? And I can tell you with a pretty high degree of confidence that those that do use an integrator for the robotics very rarely will go back and say, man, I wish I wouldn't have used them. And if you did, my guess is it was the wrong integrator. But we've got robotics partners that have very capable people, very capable. But you have to be able to ask the questions and make the assumptions in order to give the information to those companies in order to get the solution that is best for you at that specific time. So please, if you're listening to this, understand that expertise in goods to person, in automation, whatever, even if it does cost you a little bit more, you'll be so much better off in going that route and working with a company that understands all the nuances from productivities that you won't ever look back and say, why did I do that? So I think that's a great trend. And I think in terms of the service, I think, Jimmy, you hit it, right? I know I spent a lot of time on this question, but I'm very passionate about it, is the service is something that you have to consider. There are different solves out there for it, but I think, Jimmy, you hit it well, right? So, but those are my thoughts. Get with an expert.
Awesome. Those are some great points. So that's part one of the MHEDA trends. We might come back to a part two on the ones we skipped over.
It'd be fun.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun. See if the people like this one and what we go out, and then we'll do some more.
Awesome. Well, that was episode 12. Thank you all for
we'll wrap it up.
Giving your insights.
Nice job. Thanks, Jacob. We'll work on your reading ahead of the next podcast episode.
I'll practice ahead of time next time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks,
See you all
guys.
later.
We'll see you.